Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles, and today I am with Terry Robinson. Terry wrote a book, Piss Poor 2. Wait a minute, let me look at this cover. Is it Piss Poor Abundance 2?
No.
Piss Poor 2 Abundance.
There you go.
Oh, I got it now.
It.
Piss Poor 2 Abundance. You know what? I'm still going to have to move you up some.
How about that?
That's better. So let me ask you, what is it that you do in your profession?
I am an accountant by profession. That's my trade. And I was fortunate enough to meet people that were entrepreneurs, and that kind of just led me into building businesses and basically documenting my story.
Okay. So, because how did you come to the fact that you said, I'm going to work with numbers. Ooh, I'm just excited. I'm going to be an accountant.
You know what? This is not something you can plan. It was just in the cards for me. Like, literally, I was counting my fingers and my toes in my mother's womb.
Oh, so you are a numbers person.
I am a numbers person.
So if it don't make numbers, it don't make sense?
It doesn't make sense. There you go.
So let's go back to high school. When you were in high school, and around you, you had your peers, and people were starting to say, hey, I'm going to go to Harvard. I'm going to go to Howard. Yeah. I'm going to go to Spelman. Remember back in the day?
Yes,
that was the thing.
Definitely.
And I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be an engineer. And did you say, I'm going to be an accountant, or did you go the other route that a lot of people do? They get a job in accounting to see if they like it and then pursue it further from there?
No, absolutely. I've always just been very focused. I know exactly what I wanted to major in. I know exactly what school I wanted to attend. I did my homework, and I came to the conclusion that DePaul University was the number one school for accountancy program.
No, that's just because you're in Chicago.
No. No, it's true. I'm going hard for DePaul. But I had a lot of people around me try to discourage me from that, saying, oh, DePaul is a school for rich, white, smart kids. And I didn't let any of that deter me. I was so confident that I was going to get into the school that I didn't apply to any other school.
Yeah, you were bold. Nowadays you have to apply
you have to have a backup plan.
Yeah, you have to apply to DeVry.
No, sir. There was no backup plan. It was DePaul all the way. And so I applied. Actually, I worked with my counselors. They noticed that I had something very special. They noticed I was very detail-oriented. I had a lot of the attributes of what an accountant would need to be successful in that career. Okay. And again, like I said, I had been counting my fingers and my toes in my womb. Not my womb.
That's a good
That's
one.
A neat trick.
Let me show you this next trick.
No, I stand to be corrected. In my mother's womb. So I work with counselors of the school, and they actually contacted the administration at DePaul, and they actually directed me on what courses to take, what type of GPA I had to have. They said that I had to have a 3.8 GPA average. I had to have 3 letters of recommendation. One of them was from a teacher and probably a principal. So again, I worked very closely with my teachers and administration at my school, which I graduated from Senn High School. Go Bulldogs.
I told you I'm not from here.
Yes, we know you're from Detroit, Michigan.
The D?
Hey now, you're in Chicago now.
I am in Chicago. As a matter of fact, we're in the, what is this called? The Magnificent Mile.
Yeah, there you go. I'm proud of you.
And I'm literally looking at Michigan Avenue. Michigan Avenue is right there. I'm looking out the window past old boy's head.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to get into all what we got into before.
Your commute here. Okay.
You're an Illinois DePaul alumni.
That's right.
Got your education. Once you departed from DePaul.
There you go.
What was your first steps? What was your first experience? Because, I was making this statement while we were setting up for the podcast that you go to school and you get all this training, but you have no real application until you get out in the real world. And this is what I don't see much today is people interning like they once did, so that when they come out, they're very well prepared for being functional in the world. Did you intern, or did you just start sending out those resumes or doing people's taxes on the side?
Actually, I've just always been very precocious in the accounting field. So I did very well at my accounting courses. So my accounting professor actually recommended me for a job at DePaul. That was my first accounting experience. So as I was going to school, I was actually working as an accountant in the school. And by the time I graduated, I was hired full-time because I was working part-time. And so by the time I graduated, they had offered me a full-time position. So I had already had the experience as going to school as a party.
You didn't want to go to that Price Waterhouse?
Oh, yeah. Let's not go there. See, you trying to start something.
Wow. Price Waterhouse is a big firm.
Yeah.
And they are like from what I noticed, because I'm not into accounting, I'm just into, getting dollars and stacking them.
There you go. Do you need a good accountant?
But I understand various businesses.
Yes.
And I understand various circles and networks that revolve in those businesses.
Yeah.
And Price Waterhouse always seemed to come up when I was talking with people who were in finance or accounting, but you're like, no. Fine, we'll put that on. We know that Price Waterhouse, get the step in.
There you go.
So that's fine with that. So after you've accumulated this information from your first foray into your profession,
yes.
What was the next steps? How did you depart from there and move forward?
I did maybe about 25 years in the accounting arena. I was very fortunate to come in contact with a lot of wealthy people that I started doing accounting for. So what I started to notice is all of these wealthy people had one thing in common. They all owned a business.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was a part of my college education that I actually wasn't privy to.
Right.
So I started learning more about that. I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah, there you go. So that kind of changed my life. So I was like, oh, okay, now I realize I've been hustling backwards.
That's a good way to put it. Hustling
That's what
backwards.
my uncles taught me. So again, I started to redirect my energy and started to focusing more on entrepreneurship, learning more about that. And that kind of transitioned me from climbing more up the ladder of accounting. I had gotten all the way up to the director of accounting, and the next step was CFO. So
you were making bank.
Oh, man, I was like, I'm there.
But they work you to death, and you got a lot of stress.
They really did. A lot of times I would come out to the parking lot, my car would be the only car in the parking lot because I had pulled so many hours, first one there, last one to leave. But one thing that I noticed, I was very unhappy. I noticed that even though I was moving higher up the ladder, the people around me were still in the same position. So that kind of hurt me. It kind of bothered me. It was something in my spirit that it just didn't settle well with me, that I was so fortunate to have experienced so much success and the people around me weren't. So I started to, again, aligning my desires, aligning my education with the needs of the world.
There you go.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to jump forward. I haven't even read the book.
You didn't read my book?
I didn't read your book. I'm not going to lie.
You can sound like
I got it now, but I'm going to read it and probably do a recap before I post everything. I keep it 100.
There you go. Oh, wait. Let me tell you something. I'm from Chicago, but they say I used to talk kind of, not my culture. So I would say, yes, I keep it 100. They say, no. It's not 100. It's 100.
That's true.
Oh, dear.
Well, see, okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lesson in the vernacular of Hood Speak 101.
There you go.
I'm accused of the exact same thing.
Okay.
People's, and this is pretty weird because many times if people contact me first via telephone, and then they meet me, they have that that thing.
Yeah, they think you're white.
Oh, yeah, I
There
get
you go.
especially with a name like Emmett Muckles.
Oh, there you go.
I am just universal. It's like a one size fits every color.
Yeah.
I could
so
be
you
Indian
get
for
it.
all they know.
So you get it.
I do get it. I get it very well. And you also, you touched on a really a subject that many people don't really understand in the experience of people of color is that we're already bilingual, particularly if you have education, and that you have a specific set of skills that you have to employ when you're in different social climates.
Exactly.
And it's not as bad as it was, particularly because the rise of biracial relationships. Now things are starting to become a little amorphous, particularly because you're starting to see things that used to be exclusively in black communities. It's been adopted by other communities and making more money, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a good thing. I mean, because, most people will judge you in a single way. And I was saying this to a friend of mine that I am not represented, or you or I are probably really not represented in the diaspora of media and pop culture.
Yes.
Because you can only be one of two things. For me, I can either be a thug or a gay guy.
Oh, dear. Oh, my.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got you.
But I digressed again. So let me ask you this. So when you start seeing that, when you came to this conclusion that the only way to really build a foundation of sustenance and wealth was to be a business owner.
Absolutely.
So did you think to yourself, you said self?
Oh, my God.
Self, I need to have my own business. But many people, when they think of business, the first thing is I need an idea that is mine that I can promote as far as a business. What was your avenue that you took to say, I'm going to become a business owner? Or, I don't even know how to put more words on it.
It was kind of easy for me because, again, my repertoire is accounting. So I kind of figured out how to package up my skills and put a price on them and put a price list together, because a lot of times what I was experiencing were a lot of people were coming to me with accounting problems, like maybe their taxes were in error or maybe they hadn't filed them in years. So I became very experienced with dealing with complex problems, dealing with accounting. So it was very easy for me to put an idea. It wasn't even an idea. Everybody has a good idea. You have to be able to apply that idea. And working for yourself, there are a lot of attributes that you are required to have. No one's going to say, hey, get up and work 8 hours a day. You have to be your own motivator. So I was always very disciplined. And that came from my childhood and the schools that I attended. So it was just very easy, no-brainer for me to transition my accounting skills into my own business, and that's what I did.
So was that the bulk of your business? Was there any diversification in your business? Because I know you talked a bit about being an owner of businesses that weren't really your niche.
Absolutely. One thing that I learned is that a lot of people can't expand in their businesses because a lot of times they'll go into a bank and they'll give their social security number to try to get a loan or some type of business financing, and they get denied. There are certain prerequisites that a bank requires, and one of them is that your business has to be 2 years or older. You're laughing, but it's true.
No, I'll tell you the story offline. You're going to...
Oh, you want to embarrass yourself for the people?
No, because I'm Emmett. I'm going to tell you this story.
Embarrass yourself for the people, Emmett.
No, I'm going to tell you this. So I incorporated the Billionaire Lifestyle LLC. And I went to the bank. And I said and I filled out all the bank stuff, right? So the banker says, okay, we're done, Mr. I was like, no, I want to apply for a credit card.
You're done.
He's like, really? Yeah, he's like, and he gave me this look like, they don't really approve people for credit cards. Your company's less than 2 weeks old.
Exactly.
I'm Emmett.
Oh, goodness. I can't.
So He says, and it takes a couple of days. I'm sitting across from him as I am sitting across from you. 7 minutes later.
Wow.
I'm Emmett. I got approved. Bam.
See?
I write rhyme and cash checks.
Oh, dear. You're killing me here.
That's what, but this is my interview style. I treat everyone like family.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to sit here and ask you these staid questions because I want you to be relaxed, and because it is a relationship, and it's not just, it's me learning from you actually.
Yes.
And it's transferring that knowledge to the world to spotlight your value. And you bring a lot of value because a lot of people in this country are not financially literate.
Exactly.
A lot of people understand what to do when they get money to sustain their immediate life.
Exactly.
But they don't know how to use that capital to sustain the long-term life.
Exactly. And that's why I saw a niche for myself to get in and kind of like fill the void in that area. Because again, there are certain prerequisites that are required to go to a bank to get financing to advance your business. Your company has to have its own credit score. So,
Yeah.
Did you mess up?
No, I didn't mess up. I'm just thinking about Duns and Bradstreet because when I got my first business, it was an entertainment business, which I was DJing weddings, and I did a good clip.
Oh, you was on the ones and twos?
Yes. Shut up.
Okay, I'm stop messing with you.
Chicka. So I had a DJ company, but I started out doing basement parties and clubs, and then I remember the day I called myself, name of my company, and someone wrote me a check to that name.
Oh, okay.
Because where I came from, it was cash only.
You're so hood.
But I did I dealt with a church, which is a nonprofit.
Okay.
So they wrote me a check because they have to be able to account for everything that they do. Take that said check to the bank, and they said, you don't have a DBA. You don't have, no, they said, yeah, you don't have a DBA. You don't have anything that states that this is where it's going to. So basically, it's like you're trying to cash a check for somebody else.
Yes.
So I ran out, got a DBA, and then opened a bank account, then cashed that check.
Yes.
That was the beginning of my education. Lord, help us. I'm very well versed now. I'm still very ignorant, but I'm very well versed. I know the way to do that. But here is, maybe you can expound on this thought a little bit, where you actually created an entity, an invisible entity that has basically the same financial rights as a human being.
Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to get at, is that you have your own Social Security number. Okay, that it establishes who you are. But also your company has to have its own identity too. It has to have its own credit history. That's why a lot of the times it's very difficult for us to get financing from a bank, because the company hasn't established its own credit history. And you have to have that Duns and Brad's number in order to establish that credit history. So one of the things that I do is that I start companies and I build the credit on them for 2 years, and then I sell the company. Your company now is credit ready to go into a bank and receive financing.
So what about venture capitalism and things of that nature? Because, this is the era where we're talking about startup. You hear it constantly. And in that same avenue, you hear about venture capital. I've worked for and with venture capital projects, but most of those build to sell.
Right.
Very much similar, kind of what you were doing. But you're talking, if we're talking to just the layperson, which is kind of a fundamental right of America, which is to come here and you have the freedom to build what you want.
Exactly.
But most people don't know. If you're, let's say, I'm going to build a scenario. Someone makes cakes.
Okay.
You know somebody makes cakes.
Oh,
too.
I know how to bake a cake.
I'm talking about cakes. That person in the neighborhood. Someone makes cakes and they say, I want to take this legitimate. And most people don't even, there isn't even a starting point where most people know to move to. So can you explain the difference between a sole proprietor, a LLC, a S corp, and a LLP.
The sole proprietor is just you, just one person. You're solely responsible for everything that entails with the company. An LLC, that's a limited liability company where a lot of your assets are not at risk. And then S corporation is which I would recommend most people to look into. Again, you don't have a lot of your assets at risk, but the tax breaks are a lot more appealing.
Okay.
So you have those are the three main entities that you would want to break your company down for. I mean, if you're doing something small like a cake company, maybe a sole proprietor probably be appropriate for that line of business. But if it's something that you plan on expanding, I would suggest using a limited liability and then advancing onto an S corporation.
So is this for asset protection as well?
It's absolutely for asset protection. I mean, we live in a day and age where everybody, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do.
Everybody wants this up.
I built this training course, and they asked me why I'm so stringent about doing things a certain way and why I called it a certain thing. And I said, that's because we're in Sioux Nation. And I'm not talking about the indigenous people tribe either. This is a Sioux Nation.
Sioux Nation.
Am I wrong?
No, I agree. I co-sign.
All right. So I'm going to move forward here into your book, T. Robinson.
Yes.
And you can find it on Amazon.com. You can find the link on emmettmuckles.com. Please click on it, at least to see her face, because I know she's got a profile, because that's what we do. We have to see a visual of who we're dealing with.
Exactly. And I fought as long as I could not to put my image out there. But I guess I was just waiting for the right opportunity. A lot of people are just on the internet and, taking pictures of the shoes and what I eat today. So it's like, what is this about? So
your book is, now, bear with me, guys, because I'm going to get this right. Piss Poor, the number 2, abundance. So that's from piss poor to abundance.
Absolutely.
Is what the book is about. Now the subtitle is Employee to an Entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
And you love that number 2. Where you been hanging out with Prince?
It does have its sentimental value. My birthday is in February, so number 2 represents that Aquarius.
Oh,
don't you do it?
No, I'm not going to do anything. So I'm telling everybody now, I have not read the book, but I was just so intrigued because I'm starting a kind of a series, and I started yesterday or day before yesterday with a post relegated to financial literacy.
Yes.
And the basics of like budgeting, because all that, you can't really run a business until you get your personal, or at least be conscious of your personal. But you have this table of context.
Yes.
And it sounds like let me just read this. Chapter 1, Yellow School Bus.
Oh, that one is a good one. That is the kickoff of the whole book. The Yellow School Bus. That kind of gives you a little bit of background as to who I am. I was bussed out of the inner city school system.
Oh, that's why you sound like Becky.
See, you tried it. You had to try it.
I did.
You were going to try it. I should have you go try it. But yes, so that's why I do sound like it. And it's funny because I was maybe about 9. So when you're around a different race of people, you do pick up that lingo. So a lot of times I was coming home and I'd say stuff like, okay, see you later. And my cousins would be like, see you later.
It's a different culture.
What are you talking about?
It's actually a different culture.
It really is.
I experienced the same thing.
Yeah, so that's what Get on the Yellow School Bus is about, my transitioning out of the inner city schools. Once again, I've always been very precocious.
Okay. I'm waiting to get to chapter 2.
Let me see, what's chapter 2?
Don't call me mommy.
Oh, yes.
If you're just picking up this book, you're going from the Yellow School, don't call, what's going on here?
That is really that story really embodies who I am as a person. The book is about overcoming your challenges in life. We've all been through something. So if you can look at me and say, I've overcome child abuse, I've overcome being homeless. A lot of that starts from how you're raised, the people who are responsible for bringing you up. So that gives a lot of information about why I decided to become successful. I started to notice that all the people around me were either in jail or just weren't working. So I kind of used that as a gauge as to what not to do.
Yeah. So what about Rumpelstiltskin?
Oh, wow. Now that one goes a lot into the psychological trauma that I experienced. So once again, it's not really what you go through, it's how you deal with it.
So you use this as a relatable fact. So you're just not spouting, ways and means to do something.
Exactly.
You're coming from a human reference point.
Exactly.
So that you can relate to your reader.
Exactly.
And then the Scorpion King. Were you thinking of Dwayne Johnson when you did that? What's going on? I'm just going to throw these in here.
Easy. The Scorpion King, that deals with positive and negative relationships that women have with men, and how also that can affect you in terms of who you become and how you deal with challenges in life. I could be an angry black woman, but I'm not. I'm full of love.
Oh. I guess you'll be wearing patchouli next week too, won't you? You're going to Wanderlust, hanging out.
So that pretty much highlights, after transitioning, because after I went to the suburban school system and transition back into the inner city school system. That's different. It is, and it was very tough. It was very challenging for me. So that kind of just highlights that experience of where I was at in my frame of mind. Again, the book talks about the challenges that I've experienced being homeless, being abused, and that chapter kind of just deals with, how I was able to build a bridge and overcome a lot of the...
Was this, when you say you were abused, was this from people in your circle, or was it from family, or was it for a combination of things?
It was definitely from family and their relationships. You kind of... when you're young, you don't really know what abuse is if that's just all you know. Yeah. So sometimes you tend to attract what you think is comfortable.
Yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying? So it's about staying in a relationship way too long, again, not identifying the signs that this is abuse or this is unhealthy or dysfunctional. Coming from a dysfunctional environment, I wasn't able to identify that I had actually surrounding myself again with dysfunctionality.
Yeah, you make a good point, because if that's what you know, that's what you find normal.
Exactly.
And everything else is abnormal.
Exactly.
So you figure that's your comfort zone, and then you find out that this really simple life is what is actually supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. So that's to help a lot of young girls out there to identify different types of men, and I've categorized it as a Scorpion King. You want to stay away from that kind of guy.
I'm sorry, Dwayne Johnson. My bad. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus in this interview here, but it happens.
But there are some positive experiences in relationships, so I didn't just highlight the bad,
So then you went from the Scorpion King to the Sunshine State.
The Sunshine State. That was about, I had just gotten to this point. I was just like, oh my gosh, Chicago is just so evil. I just can't deal with this anymore.
Really?
Yes. I had just gone through so much, and it's only so much a person can take. You know what I mean? She's laughing.
No, I understand, because I'm from Detroit, but when I got to Chicago, I remember I had a business meeting down here. We had one of these powwows, and I was walking in this general vicinity on a fall day, and I realized there were so many people, and I hate to say it this way, I was like, this is the perfect place for collateral damage. Because there's just so many people packed into like a square mile. There's like 20 or 30,000 people in a square mile when you get to the downtown loop. So what was your Sunshine State? You removed yourself from the environment of Chicago.
Absolutely. Again, I had just gotten a really good lucrative job offer here in Chicago, but I was unhappy. So I felt like I needed to change my environment. I kind of was just looking for a better way of living. So I was just praying a lot, just asking God to just show me a better way.
And God will show you that way.
Okay, so Creator, answered my prayers, and I received another lucrative job offer where I was offered a position as director of accounting of a major medical facility in Florida. So it was a no-brainer. I packed up everything. A lot of people I didn't even say goodbye to. I was just gone.
Was it a coastal city?
No, it was...
You were inland?
Kind of.
Whatever.
Kind of. So, I just made that move, and it was the best thing for me because it allowed me to break a lot of the influences that were around me. You know what I mean? You have to be careful of the energy that you surround yourself by. Like I said, I was doing very well in my profession, but deep down inside, I was just unhappy.
Yeah, that happens. And, this is pretty weird. So I have to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
You decided early on to pick a profession. And a lot of times when we're young, we have a passion for something.
Yeah.
But how have you sustained that passion throughout your adulthood?
Again, I have learned to take my talents and my skills and align them with the needs of the world. Mm-hmm. So I feel like now I'm giving something back. It's not all about climbing up a ladder and making six figures. It doesn't mean anything if the people around you are still struggling.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So for me to be able to say, okay, I have this knowledge of business. I have this knowledge of accountancy. I have this knowledge of entrepreneurship and financial literacy. How can I help other people? How can I use this to shine a light on someone else that may be in the dark? So that allowed me to share my story. Okay. A lot of my life I was just very exclusive. I learned to be an introvert. Again, that came from
that ain't me.
Yeah, I don't believe it. So I just learned to be by myself a lot. When you're 9 years old and you're like the only black kid in your school, you learn to just, play by yourself and do things on your own. So I just became a person that wasn't very open. A lot of people like me. I have a lot of people around me, but I just would never let them get really close to me. So that transition moving to Florida allowed me to really look at my life in retrospect and kind of traverse over some of the experiences that helped me to become who I am. So I made the conscious decision to just try to open up myself and maybe share my story, and it'll give other people insight as to why I've always just been so introverted into myself. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you really enjoy the Billionaire Lifestyle podcast and blog found at emmettmuckles.com on iTunes and Stitcher, please leave us some comments, leave us some ratings on iTunes and Stitcher, as well as emmettmuckles.com. Now back to our show. We're talking about the book here and the fact we got to the Sunshine State, but then we got to I was moving toward chapter 6 was Rude Awakening. You got time?
Absolutely.
Okay. We're talking about Rude Awakening. And Root Awakening. It's root. Ew. What Rick James say? Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Don't do it.
We were moving on into chapter 6 of your book, which is Root Awakening. Mm-hmm. And can you explain a little bit about that concept of the chapter? And I don't expect you to go in deep, just kind of a synopsis so that, I want to build the interest for the book so that they can help people in their lives too.
Root Awakening was just this consciousness that all of a sudden I just became engulfed in. I started meditating.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I started meditating.
It takes a while, but once you get there.
And it was very difficult because my mind is just, we're all on the same planet, but we're just in different dimensions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm in
That's a good point. That's a good way to say it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm 10 years ahead in my mind. I'm just constantly always in my mind thinking. So it was very difficult for me to meditate because you're not supposed to think, So that was very, very difficult and it was a challenge. But once I did start to meditating, again, like I said, I didn't have those influences around me. I started remembering a lot of things that happened in my childhood that I kind of just blocked out. Again, this all came through the meditation. And so I just all of a sudden just became very conscious. All of a sudden I stopped eating the things that I was eating, you know. I started doing research and started looking at the back of labels. And if I didn't understand the word, I would read it up. A lot of times I was eating like gasoline oil or something like that. I'm like, let's go. I remember this is really what it was. It was the toothpaste. I looked on the back of the container of the toothpaste, and it said, if swallowed, call the poison control center. And I said, well, this must be poison.
That's true, because fluoride is not fluoride is not actually advantageous to our health. It is a derivative of making metal, aluminum in particular.
Yeah. So that just led into me just going natural. I started researching all natural things. I actually came up with my own all natural line of skincare, soaps and things like that, body wash, things of that nature. I started eating all natural, eating stuff like I never even heard of, like kale. I'm like, what is kale? It's like, I don't know.
Kale is an acquired taste.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. But again, this level of consciousness just came over me. So I started being very disciplined with things that I was eating, putting it in my system, watching. I used to be all into reality shows and just all engulfed in it. All of a sudden, I started turning the TV off, you know. So I just got really in tune and in touch with myself. And that's what Root Awakening is.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Very good. So I went through a similar thing too. It's amazing because, from our community, you further alienate yourself because
absolutely,
because there's people like you lost your damn mind.
What do you mean you don't drink anymore?
Right.
We're about to turn up.
Here, you want some macaroni and cheese? No, I'm just gonna eat this kale and chicken.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna eat the macaroni and cheese. It's spoiled milk.
So Journey to the Past.
Journey to the Past. Yeah, that one is deep.
So you had to re-examine some things, huh?
I had to re-examine some things. Again, I've just been one of those people. I always tend to find something positive in everything. Again, I mentioned earlier that it's not really what you go through, it's how you deal with it. So I learned at a very young age to just focus in on being positive, stay focused in on what you're trying to achieve. So the journey to the past was me going back to where did I come from? I remember my mother once told me, I asked her, I said, where was I born? And she was like, in Cook County Hospital. I was like, wait a minute. How's that possible? Isn't that where poor people were born? She was like, yeah, you and the rest of the poor people. So again, I started learning a lot about myself. A lot of the psychological damage that I had, like I have a permanent nervous tremble that came from being traumatized a lot, being scared a lot. These are all things that I blocked out, so I wasn't aware.
I believe it. And so did you ever do any counseling, or did you ever seek any other help outside of, self-psychoanalyst?
Absolutely not.
Because that is a stigma in many communities of getting outside help for things that are suffered from mental, that are affecting the mental. Because my wife said to me a little while ago, because let me get this correct. My circumstances changed, which were not necessarily native to my being. And I was having some problems. They weren't overt. Yeah. But I was just drawing within versus emoting, because she's extremely intelligent emotionally.
Did you say emotionally?
She has a high emotional intelligence. And this is one of the things she says to me. She says, put your feelings into words. Yeah. Whatever you're feeling, put it into words. Yeah. And there's just little exercises that she brings forth. This is why I say she's highly emotionally intelligent. Okay. The 7 levels of intelligence. Hers is off the charts for emotion. Okay. Like, I'm a knuckle dragger compared to her. So, and I always give her those props throughout these shows, because she's made me such a better person, because I have an example.
Okay.
I have a physical in the world example in her to know how not to be, because otherwise I was just like, I don't care, whatever.
I thought you meant like she just starts crying at the drop of a dime.
No. She's very emotional. Yeah. She is a person that nobody can dislike.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no one dislikes her. I don't get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Because, you know, there are people that you like them for a bit.
Yeah.
Or there are some people that just don't jive.
Yeah.
I have not seen a person who is.
Yeah.
They're like, she's so nice. How did she pick you?
Oh, dear.
So let's keep on. So you went to the journey through the past.
Mm-hmm.
Diamond Star Seed Child.
Yeah.
Were you thinking of George Clinton or something?
Oh, there you go. You're trying it.
I'm going to push the envelope. Push it. Yes, I am.
Once again, it was the meditations. I kind of just tapped into something. You know what I mean? A lot of times you can ask a person, like, where do you come from? And they'll associate that with some type of religion or some type of gang or maybe even Africa. But that's where your body comes from.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times, even in religions, they'll teach when you die, your spirit goes. So where does your spirit come from? You know, so again, I just tapped so deep into myself that I know exactly what star system my spirit to get here.
Oh, you went there.
Oh, I went there. I went all the way in there.
You went deep.
Yeah, so that's where Planet 55 can
Oh,
create.
shut the front door.
It's a diamond planet, you know. And then again, this came to me through meditation. So I got up the next day and I looked on the internet, and sure enough, NASA scientists confirmed that planet existed.
Wow, that's you know, that's a real thing, because recently, and I hate to say it, and I'm not I'm not, how do I want to say this? They talk about dimensional. So you remember the movie Arrival? That just came out?
Arrival. No, I haven't
Arrival's
seen
where
it.
the space.
I'm a little behind with the movies.
That's
I'm
all
trying
right.
to catch up.
It's about these aliens who come to the planet.
Oh, yeah.
But it comes out, spoiler alert,
Uh-oh.
that they travel dimensionally.
See?
And they said, you know, it's not relevant, but in about 3,000 years of your time, we're going to need your help. So we had to get you guys on board with each other.
Yeah.
And then it just disappears. And I was like, whoa, that was deep.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even see it coming. So when people, I mean, you've said it a couple times here. You were talking about, you know, dimension and different place. And one thing in physics is that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form.
Exactly.
So I can I can identify with what you're saying.
So so that's what I'm saying. I know exactly what solar system my spirit took to get here, because you know your body goes in the ground and then your spirit goes back to where it came from.
Got you. Mm-hmm. So once you got through that, this is going to be interesting, people.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, buddy. 50 Shades of Grey got nothing on that.
Don't start nothing.
So you said broken foundation.
Broken foundation. Now that's a deep chapter right there, because that goes into a lot of the impediments that we have in our community with broken families.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times the kids are upset and they're angry because they're coming from these broken homes. Mom isn't home, you know, or dad is in prison or something like that. So we're lashing out at each other instead of really going to the core of why our foundations are broken.
Okay.
So it really gets into it systematically, politically. I'm not going to get a lot into that, you know.
Oh, yeah. No.
I shouldn't.
Yes. We're going to keep it above that level.
But yeah, I tried to just be very careful. I kind of just wanted to spoon feed a little bit to the babies, and then I'll put them on solid food in the next book. You see what I'm saying? I
understand.
Mm-hmm.
So then you went to where, you know, you are now, where you want people to eventually end up if they'd like to be, which is employee to entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Is that the meat and guts, or is
That's the meat and guts. You have to have a strong sense of who you are. You have to be focused, and you have to have discipline, and you have to have a product. And not only just have a product, you have to know how you're going to market that product to your audience. So it kind of just takes you by a step-by-step guide, again, using my own example as to how you can go from being employed to entrepreneur. A lot of it has to do with being conscious. A lot of it has to do with knowing your past, knowing who you are, and then again having that understanding that no matter how high you can go on a corporate ladder, you're never going to become wealthy. Only the people that own that company are going to become wealthy.
Yeah, that's true too. That's part of the billionaire lifestyle. And to me, it's really not about money, because I realized something after you make it depends on where you live, of course, but somewhere after you make 70, I think it's $70,000 or $75,000. Once your household accumulates more than that, any money you make after that doesn't dramatically change your existence. And in some instances, I think it could be even actually lower, because I had a year, 2008, to be exact. Thank you, economy. But I'm a go-getter, and I still made some money, but it didn't affect my life.
Right.
But it affected the consciousness of the people around me, because I did not have a job.
Right.
And I remember this. I was married to another woman.
You've been married.
I was married, and she was still employed. And I remember she came home. Look, I violated my own rule. She came home, and I was playing Rainbow Six. And I cleaned the kitchen, did some things. I take my daughter to work, did some things, came back, played Rainbow Six, and she came in. She was like, "So, when you gonna get a job?" I was like, thinking to myself, you made $5,000 today.
Wow.
And she's asking you to go get a job.
Wow.
Where I'm going to make, on the top end, if you make a decent living, you only make between $70 and maybe $200 a day. And then they take most of that from me. So I was just kind of miffed, like, oh no. I put in some applications back.
Oh my.
But because I understood the mindset. She didn't understand that mindset, because I'm always, my dad was like that, was always, you have two jobs. Particularly where we come from. You have the job that you go to and punch a clock for, but then you have the job where you dictate how your income is derived.
Yeah.
And so he trained us to always have various disciplines at our disposal, so that we can draw upon them throughout. So let me ask you, with the historical context where Black Wall Street was demolished, the various cities that were prospering demolished, do you think that we can ever get back to that point? Because I'll tell you this, I came from Detroit in the 80s, and a lot of my friends, they were rock stars, which means they were selling rocks. I didn't partake because I was I was a square. I was serious square, and I was literally scared of my mother.
Good job, Mama.
Yes, I'd rather, I'm not, because she's going to kill me when I get out of jail. But a lot of my generation is gone. Yeah. They are literally gone, where either they are dead because their life was taken because of this lifestyle, or they are institutionalized for such a long period where they are no longer considered a citizen, because you can't vote, you don't have access to certain things. Yes. But when I look at that, and I wonder, because I talked to a friend who got out of jail, and I helped him out, and he was like, yeah, man. He was like, I was making like 5 G's a day. A day. Wow. And he was mid-low level, so if you're high level, you're making quite a bit more than that. Yeah. But why aren't they investing it into making the neighborhood better or their area better? Exactly. Versus buying Burger King and Jordans.
I mean, that's really what it is. Our community has to understand that we have to start competing. You hear a lot from the conscious community about Black power. A lot of the emphasis is on the Black, but there's no emphasis on the power. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we don't have our own banks. We don't have our own schools.
There's one.
One.
I found her. I've seen her. One. You know who I'm talking about?
No. Seaway.
I can't think
of her name.
They
just closed it.
No, I just sent her a message on.
But that's what we need. Our own banks, our own school systems, our own hospitals, like the power portion of it. You hear a lot of people talking about going to war. I mean, unless you really understand war, I mean, do you understand the Marine and the Navy and the mass machines that they have? Like, we don't have our own. There's no reason why Africa doesn't have a military system and bases in every place where black people are. And again, we have to start putting the pressure on Africa. They have all the natural resources there, but everyone else is going in there and
they are
benefiting from it, except for us. So we have to start learning how to compete economically. We have to start pooling our money together. We invest a lot of money into the holidays. You know, we don't let me go there.
No, don't. You don't have to tell me. You do not.
So we have the financial resources to get ourselves out of the situation that we're in. But if you go to the Chinese shops, they'll tell you, you know, like you go to the nail shop, I ask them, you know, how did you get this business? They'll tell you that 10 people put in $20 a week.
Oh, that's so it's a community effort.
It's called economic pooling.
Okay.
Or community pooling. And they don't go to banks. They go within themselves. They spend within their communities and they build their communities. And we don't do that. We invest in everyone else's communities. And what we have to start doing is putting them out of business, pulling our dollar bills into our own communities, start building our own economic wealth. And that's one of the things that bothers me a lot. I get really frustrated, like St. Patrick's Day just passed. And I was like, do we really know what St. Patrick's Day is really about? If we did, we wouldn't be walking around with this green stuff on. You know what I mean?
No, I just drank the drink. I'll blast it.
But again, so we need to start having our own holidays and our own wealth, our own economic pooling, and start competing. And that's really the problem, is that we're investing our resources in other communities.
So what do you think is how do you take a demographic and steer them in a direction for the better when everything they know is counterintuitive to that?
You got to start with the babies. You have to start reprogramming them. I believe that we should stop teaching them to become employees and start teaching them to become entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Start teaching them what business credit is, what's a Duns and Brad's number. Start teaching them how to set up corporations and work for themselves, because you have the slave and then you have the master.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of slaves that are happy.
You know, comfort is a big thing.
Exactly.
It's amazing how many people are reacting off comfort. Well, you know, our environment is changing here because we're in a live dynamic environment. We had a good bit of silence before. So you're not going to be a stranger to this.
Oh, cool.
So
I'll be back anytime you have me.
So I think we're going to talk off air. It was awesome having you. Now, where can you get the book? Give me every place that you sell or provide the book.
Amazon.com right now. It'll eventually be in Barnes & Nobles. We're working on that right now. And then in the libraries and schools.
What about direct?
Direct, you can... there's no direct way other than Amazon.com, but we're definitely setting things up so that you can get the book directly from me. If you inbox me, I can directly get you a copy of the book. But
inbox where?
My Facebook is... Let me think. Is it... I don't go on Facebook that much.
You have an email?
I do have an email.
You know what? I'll put everything on the blog so that way people can directly get it. So, ladies and gentlemen, please go to thebillionairelifestylellc.com. That's the new one. Ta-da. Also, emmettmuckles.com. That is the basis of the blog and podcast. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it in Stitcher. And you can find it in Google Play as well now. If you really have a question, just send me a inquiry at info@emmettmuckles.com. I'll be happy to answer because I love you all and I love interacting with people. And you guys may give me some ideas of what kind of content you'd like to hear related to living prosperity and family and love. So remember, you all are a trinity. You're a mind, you're a body, you're a spirit. The thing that we have to do is promote all of those equally so that we're a balanced individual. Until next time, thanks, T. Robinson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Deuces, we going to get chicken now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for listening to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. One thing that I want to update you guys on, for some odd reason, I didn't have comments enabled, or I did have them enabled, but you had to be logged in or registered with the blog. But I want to hear from all of you. So please leave a comment at the end of the post at emmettmuckles.com or go to www.thebillionairelifestylellc and let me know what you think. It is so vitally important. I received an email from someone from Johor, and they, told me some great things, and it's very inspirational. It drives me forward. It helps me to put even more of my heart into making sure that I can provide content for you guys so that you can learn something, or you can be inspired, or you can be entertained, all of which, if I can just bring some light to your life, I feel grateful. Thank you so much. Please continue listening. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and even iHeartRadio, believe it or not. We're moving on up. Thank you so much. Have the blessed, blessed day. Peace.